Greetings, cinephiles. Are you looking for a movie analysis podcast that stands above the rest? Then look no further than Collateral Cinema, the only movie podcast that matters.
We analyze good movies, we analyze bad movies, and yes, we also analyze the in-betweens of the world of cinema.
So if you like what you hear, find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
And listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts.
And yes, my friends, we are 420 friendly. So when you listen to us, smoke it if you've got it. And now, here's a new episode of Collateral Gaming. The show starts right now.
I'm Ashley Chancellor.
I'm Megan Gomez.
I'm Zachary Keogh.
And I'm Dan Rockwood.
And this is Collateral Gaming with
Victims and Villains.
Welcome to Collateral Gaming, the only video game podcast that matters, where we focus on good games, bad games, and everything in between. It has been a while since I have set foot in the Collateral Gaming arena, and today we are chilling with our homeboy Dan Rockwood from Victims and Villains. This is going to be awesome. We got some good shit to talk about. Ash, Megan, it is so good to see you guys again. I have missed hanging out and chilling and talking with you guys. And of course, Ash said it before we started recording, but we usually all come together again when it's Zelda on the table. So, and that's fine with me. Honestly, I love Zelda. So, but how are you guys doing? It's been quite a few months.
It's been like a year, but that's fine.
It hasn't been a year since I've recorded with Ash, but it has been a year since we've kind of all come together. So
I know. I'm like, is that going to be on this one? Is that going to be on this one? Is that going to be on this one?
So, I think on the last podcast episode, I think Ash and I kind of talked about it. I got engaged in May. And I actually moved out to where she lives, and I kind of started a new career out here as a salesman. And I'm just kind of working my way up to kind of get established in life, and I've been trying to catch up in the world of gaming, and I'm finally here, finally relaxed and set up, and I am really excited. We got Tears of the Kingdom coming in May. That's super exciting. And God of War Ragnarok has released, which all four of us have been kind of getting our hands greasy with, and that's super exciting.
Not a Zelda game.
Not a Zelda game, no.
Not a Zelda game, but boy.
And actually, courtesy of Megan, I wanted to wait till we started recording for me to tell her, but I am halfway through Horizon Zero Dawn at this point.
I'm so proud.
Good.
It's actually really fucking good, and I'm so sorry that I ever shit on it, because I'm ready to get into Horizon Forbidden West as well.
Hell yeah.
That makes my Aloy loving heart so happy.
That is, and the God of War fans are going to come at me, but Horizon Zero Dawn, it is my number one single favorite best game on PS4. It's so good. Please play it. I'm so happy to play it.
It's The Last of Us Part 1 remastered, so like I don't blame you at all for saying that it's better than God of War. I do love God of War.
Aloy is hotter than Joel, okay? Aloy is the boss-ass bitch, okay?
Okay, but Aloy ain't hotter than Kratos. Kratos can get this meatos.
I mean, Kratos is daddy, but like Aloy, like mommy, sorry, mommy, sorry.
Yeah, but I've been really
call
enjoying
her Dommy Mommy, okay?
Mommy.
But I've been really enjoying Dad of Boy Ragnarok. It's been a fun experience.
Dad of Boy resolutions of dad.
It's we got a really, really fun episode for you guys today. Of course, we're just going to be goofing
about
off
everything but Zelda.
Yep.
Well, we should talk about the news because the Game Awards happened.
Dun, dun, dun!
I'm not happy.
Yeah, before we get into Zelda, I think we should get into the Game Awards. And before we get into that, I think we should let Dan talk a little bit about Victims and Villains for anybody of our listeners that haven't checked you guys out.
Absolutely.
We love Dan.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Megan. You're the best. So over at Victims and Villains, we do all kinds of stuff led by Captain Nostalgia himself. And we look at everything through pop culture. It's a lot of movies, a lot of comics. Started doing a little bit of video games, not as much as this over a year, of course, but there's, a new movie comes out, especially new horror film, new Marvel film. It drops and we're going to do an episode about it. But we, not only do we talk about stuff, we do it through the scope of mental health. We want to make sure that we are helping to get mental health resources into schools and out to people who need them, particularly promoting suicide awareness and prevention. That is the heart and soul of what we do over at Victims and Villains. So if you want to come out and hang out and listen to us talk some movies and check out some good mental health sides of it as well, that's what we do over there.
Hell yeah, man. And
can I just say also that I just love Dan's podcast and Captain Nostalgia's podcast. Like, I listen to it all the time. Like, it's the greatest thing ever, especially because, like, I know that we had been talking about having you on the Hellblade game, because that game is very heavily tied into mental health, and there is a sequel. So Dan, if you're interested, I'm just saying, I'm extending the invitation.
I'll have to check that out. Yeah.
It's so good. But yeah, I love the fact that you can bring pop culture into a lot of mental health things, and how you bring the ties together and show those kind of heavy things, and show that it's not bad to talk about them, because I think that's something that is kind of getting a resurgence, is talking about mental health and the importance of it. And their podcast just, chef's kiss, beautiful, love it.
Love working with Victims and Villains.
They're our favorite.
Actually, on Collateral Cinema, we kind of have an annual Christmas holiday thing where Captain Nostalgia joins us, and then we join him. So this year we did Violent Night on the Victims and Villains end, and then we did Kirk Cameron's Saving Christmas on the Collateral Cinema end, and that was really, really, really funny to review
awesome.
a Christian film with a Christian,
Mm-hmm. That sounds terrific. What a like juxtaposition too with Violent Night. I feel like those two either go really well together or don't go well together at all, depending on how you look at it.
But yeah, love working with Victims and Villains. Both Collateral Cinema and Collateral Gaming. We love to do the live stream events, so that's a lot of fun. Yeah. I hope that that there's going to be something maybe this holiday season. I don't know.
Hopefully, it's always a blast, getting together with you guys and doing those crossovers and everything. And I love coming on this podcast, of course. It's funny because like my wife knows what I do with Victims and Villains, but I don't tell her every single thing I do. And so I was like, oh yeah, like my Texas video game friends, I'm gonna go hang out with them. And she's like, who do you what? And I was like, oh yeah, no. And I'm like, well, one is in Texas, the others, have moved around, and they're others. But south of where we are, my southern friends, my south friends. So it's just cool. And I say this, it's nice being a part of, like, I do writing for Tech Raptor, and I have friends who game. It's just great being able to like have these conversations with people, because particularly, in my day job, or you go other places, video games are bigger than they have ever been, but it's still kind of a niche thing. And if you just don't have a community around that understands it, it's like, Tears of the Kingdom comes out day one. All of us are probably going to be either taking time off work or arranging our schedules to make sure we can play that day one. And there are so many people in my life who that's just going to be another day to them, and they don't even care. And so it's nice, understanding people who understand the magnitude of some of these things, and that's really cool.
That's so fun. I love that. Yeah, because it's so weird. Like, so I work in an office full of women, and I'm the only one that is a nerd and that games it all. Like, I'm talking about like, oh, Alan bought me a Lord of the Rings recipe book, and there's meat in it and like the ale in it, and they're like, Lord of the what? I'm like, fucking shit. Like, I'm like, I love all of you women so much, but you're disappointing. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. That none of them play any video games. None of them know really anything about any like Marvel or Disney or anything. And I'm just sitting there nerding out like, oh my God, Tears of the Kingdom and Game Awards. And they're like, okay, Meg, well, I'm glad you're happy.
Do they live in shoeboxes?
Well, a lot of them are moms and just don't even care about pop culture except for like Patrick Swayze throwback clips, but it's fine.
Okay, I mean, fair. First of all,
Patrick
fair.
Swayze's kind of hot.
We also, funny enough, have a doctor named Dr. Swayze, so like we kind of make a joke about it all the time. Yeah, we're like Swayze, like Patrick Swayze, Dirty Dancing. No, okay.
Yeah, Dirty Dancing Patrick Swayze is one of my personal fitness goals, so I'm working on it. I'll get there eventually.
Just throw her over your shoulder. Don't even lift her up. Just eat her. It's fine.
Hell yeah. Well, guys, should we talk about the Game Awards? Because a lot of stuff went down. I mean, I think for a lot of us, it was between God of War Ragnarok and Elden Ring. I mean, Megan, you probably were hoping for Horizon Forbidden West.
Yeah, you want to talk about Southern? I'm about to get heated. My accent's about to come out. I'm a little bit upset. I mean, so for one, I'm so happy that Christopher Judge got the award for voice actor, because that man is amazing and incredible. And I talked about it in the episode that we just did. But Christopher Judge said that this performance was a love letter to his children and an apology to his children, and the relationship that he has with Sonny. Like, it just works so perfectly, and he deserved it. Also, Bear McCreary winning best game soundtrack. So happy for him. He's made some amazing scores. He just did Rings of Power, and that was bone chilling incredible. So for him to get another one for God of War, because he did God of War Ragnarok, I'm just so happy for him and proud of him. I'm sad for Ashley Birch and I'm sad for Horizon, but I'm just happy that, you know, like the other franchise that I really love did get some love. And, you know, like Christopher Judge has been all over TikTok, and everyone's all of a sudden watching Stargate and loving Teal'c, and I'm like, I'm here for it. I'm totally here for it. Christopher Judge deserves it. So I'm a little sad, but also happy.
Well, Elden Ring won Game of the Year. And that doesn't surprise me, and I'm not disappointed by it. I think Elden Ring is a phenomenal game. I think it deserves it. I mean, I was kind of hoping for Ragnarok. That was my Game of the Year.
Yeah.
But Ragnarok did win several awards. I think at least 6, right? Best Narrative, Best Score and Music for Bear McCreary, Best Audio Design, as you mentioned, Best Performance, Christopher Judge, Best Action Adventure, and Innovation in Accessibility.
I love that so freaking much. I'm so happy for freaking Santa Monica Studios. They deserve it.
Definitely agreed. And it's funny having access to Twitter, at least for the time being, until, you know, that blows up and explodes. But it's just cool because, like, if you follow some of these developers and follow these studios, they'll give you like some sneak peeks as they're developing these games, and they'll just show you some showcases. So it is really cool. Like, we as fans and as players are more connected than we have ever been to be able to get a glimpse into the development timelines of these games. It used to be just radio silence, and I mean, from Nintendo, that's basically what we get, right? So they're not very forthcoming until they have a direct. But a lot of these studios, it's like, oh, hey, you know, we've been working really hard, and like, here's like a screenshot, or here's a glimpse of, you know, what our team is up to. So it's nice because God of War Ragnarok was announced at least a couple of years back for, you know, one of those trailers, and it's just cool because, like, we've been anticipating it and we've been excited for it, and it's been nice to just see them, you know, working every day on it, and they were able to accomplish it and pump out a kick-ass game. So definitely happy to see that, because they did a really good job.
Yeah, God of War Ragnarok, the very beginning of it had me tearing up. They
my God.
They did such a good job with the direction. Just, I mean, of course Christopher Judge is going to win the performance. Just, his chemistry with Suni is just, it's mind-blowing how each character or each voice actor brings those characters to life. And it feels like you're watching a movie. It feels like you're watching one of the highest, just one of the greatest cinematic films ever. That opening sequence blew my mind. And so I'm just very happy with all of the love and praise that it got. So I'm
cried
thrilled.
like a baby back bitch. I won't even lie to y'all. I cried like a baby back fucking bitch.
Which we will get to talking about in our God of War episode for sure.
I can't deny I won't cry. I'm sorry. Not sorry.
Also worthy of mentioning, Stray, another game that we did recently, won Best Independent Game, and I believe another award, Best Debut Indie Game. I'm so happy for them. That's so great.
I am too. The fact that it was nominated for a Game of the Year alongside like God of War Ragnarok and Horizon Forbidden West, I mean, that was amazing. So cool.
Their first freaking game, and they get a Game of the Year award. Like, they can only go up from here. And Ash and I talked about it. Like, we can't wait to see what they do next. Like, they're just they're so wholesome. I can't wait for more wholesome games from them. Like, that is like cozy gaming right there. It's sad as fuck, but it's cozy gaming.
I'm excited to see what Blue 12 does, whether that is in the universe of Stray, because I think there's a lot more they could do with that, or not.
I know.
I want more from that game. Like, I liked the condensed story that they were telling, but I would love for them to open it up and show just more of what they can do with it, and playing as a cat, more places that a cat can go.
Especially with your cat behind you.
That's pretty much what Megan and I had to say about it, is that, like, you know, we kind of just wish that there was more, but it's phenomenal for an independent game. Real quickly, let's also go over most anticipated game, Tears of the Kingdom. Is anybody surprised?
Oh my goodness, no!
For me, my most anticipated is Jedi Survivor. I won't even lie to you.
Oh,
I'm so freaking excited.
You and me both.
I screeched like a banshee, Like I was so excited because not only did we get an actual BD in the televised shows, now we're getting more Cal Kestis, and Cameron Moynihan has said he would sign up for anything with Cal Kestis. Like, are we getting a fucking show? I will scream.
I have a strong suspicion that his character will be teased in one of the upcoming shows and potentially have his own spin-off. So I'm looking forward to whatever they do with him.
I love that so much. It already looks so incredible. I can't wait to yeet some shit off of a cliff like I did. Okay, I just can't.
I'm excited for what they can do with that game with the next gen features, with like it releasing on PS5. I just want more and a better realized. Like I love the first game so much, and I think that this is just going to really improve on it and build on it in so many ways.
And the fact that they're building the Star Wars universe in so many different ways, like this is something that like even like my husband's dad would like die for, because like he's seen all the original films. He wears like a Vader outfit with like a Christmas cape on Christmas. Like it's a whole thing. Like Star Wars is a thing in our family. Like my dad's more of a Trekkie, but I'm a big Star Wars fan, and so is Alan, and we love it. So to see them expanding more into the video games, getting more into this narrative style instead of just like Lego Star Wars or, you know, like those little like battle games and stuff like that. Not that they're little, but, you know, like actual narrative that's like a big, heavy game that people are really excited about. I can't wait to see what else Star Wars does. You know, like there's so many ways they can go. There's more characters they can introduce with mini games and small games, and there's a lot that we could go off of. I am too excited. I could go on for an hour just about Jedi Survivor.
All I'm going to say is that this Cal Kestis looks like he cuts stormtroopers in half. And I am ready to see what kind of dark shit they bring into this game. Because you know when you're running from Vader, that's going to put age on your face. So I'm ready to see what kind of dark story they can throw at us. Because the ending of Fallen Order is incredible. And it leaves you wanting so much more. So I can't wait to see what EA does with this.
I know.
So that was actually Megan and Alan's first episode, was Fallen Order. The other day we said it was God of War, but God of War was the second episode y'all were on.
Was it really? It was Fallen Order? No.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes me so happy. I'm so happy. Oh my God. I can't wait. It's March 17th too. So like if we do the episode in time, it'll be on, like around my birthday. I'm just saying.
If I have a PS5 by then, or you too. Zach does. Zach, you're going to be able to play it. So
Zach, we're just going to have to loan it. Sorry, buddy.
I know. Let's just get together in person. We'll all bring our PS5s. We can pass the controllers around.
That's what Alan and I do though.
It's a good way to do it.
That's what we're doing with Ragnarok right now. It's like the best date night. Like you just make some pizza at home, you get some wine or beer or whatever, and then like when one of us dies, we just pass the controller off. It's great.
My wife and I have been playing Lego Star Wars together. The Skywalker Saga just came to Game Pass, so I've been playing that on my Xbox, and it's fun. It's really great couch co-op, which there are just not enough couch co-op games. It's a lot of online gaming, which is cool, but I really love local multiplayer. So when a game supports that, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Have y'all played It Takes Two?
Yeah, we played through It Takes Two last year. That was so good. That was our first like big like co-op experience, I would say, that we played through a whole game together.
Yeah, we're doing that next month actually. It Takes Two.
Cool.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. That's going to be our January episode, and I have never played it before, so that'll be interesting. One more award, and part of me doesn't even want to mention it, but Weeb, Lolly, Breath of the Wild won Player's Voice, apparently. I mean, Genshin Impact.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one seemed strange to me, the most strange. I mean, no shade to fans of that game. It's not one that I've been able to see yet. Check out.
All the shade, okay? All right, you're all pedos.
All of it.
No, I'm kidding. You're not, but still.
We're also getting I don't know if you saw it, Ash. See the Final Fantasy 16?
You know, yeah, I heard about that. I haven't watched the trailer yet, but I did see the news. I'm excited because I actually liked Final Fantasy 15, or what I've played so far. So 16,
driving around in the car,
and the main character is named Clive. So it's just like a normal ass name.
Sounds like a mixture of herbs.
Clive Barton. Just kidding.
All right. Well, anything else gaming news-wise, Game Awards that y'all wanted to talk about before we get into Zelda?
I cut you off, so what were you going to say? I feel bad now. I'm sorry.
I forgot, honestly.
Oh, no.
You just wanted to bring up the Orthodox Rabbi Bill Clinton. That was the real stealer of the night.
Yes. Okay, I'm glad that you brought that up because I almost forgot about that.
In a way, I feel bad giving that guy more airtime because he shouldn't have done that. But at the same time, everyone else is talking about it. But what a weird ending to that. And it just makes me really excited to see what kind of security they have for next year's Game Awards.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I'm after seeing everything that's come out this year and seeing everything that is coming out, it makes me very, very excited and very hopeful for the future of gaming in general. Because looking at Ragnarok, looking at, Jedi Survivor, looking at Tears of the Kingdom, all of these games are going to be fucking bangers. And I can't wait. I can't wait to dive into Horizon Forbidden West. I'm just really excited to see where gaming goes. Because, I mean, yeah, life is good, but playing video games fucking rocks. Let's be honest.
Best coping mechanism ever.
I want that on a t-shirt. Life is good, but video games fucking rock.
Yeah.
That needs to be on our merch, Ash.
Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Q1 alone, we're getting Forspoken, the Resident Evil 4 remake, we're getting Jedi Survivor. Like, the first few months of 2023, we're getting some amazing games. And then I would go into what we're getting Q2, but let's be honest, we're all going to be playing Tears of the Kingdom. So it's like that game, comes out in May, and everything else is going to be taking a backseat once that game comes out.
Life is good, but gaming fucking rocks, Zach Gio.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna get that. My wife and I are in the process of buying a house at the moment, which is super exciting. But I want to get that like really nice, just written up on a sign and put in my office and quote Zach on there. So
let's do it.
You might be a new decoration in my new house. That makes it sound like I'm gonna kill you and like stuff you. That's not what I'm gonna do.
We can call it Zaxidermy.
Love it.
Oh, man. Apparently 2 shots of vodka makes my jokes on point tonight. So. But yeah, like, I am super excited to dive into A Link Between Worlds because
it was only your pick, my guy.
You know what? Watch your mouth, Megan. We don't say that shit here.
Look, we haven't been on the podcast in a year. I have some animosity. Okay, we haven't done anything together.
Right.
That is
true. We get together more often. But yeah, Zach, Ash mentioned that this was your pick. This is the game you wanted to do. Tell me what does this game mean to you? What was your experience with it like?
Well, between Oracle of Ages, A Link to the Past, and Oracle of Seasons, A Link to the Past is one of my favorites of the earlier Zelda games, and with A Link Between Worlds being kind of like a reimagining / kind of later event catalog of A Link to the Past, it's just beautifully done. I love the layout of the map. I love the re-envisioning of Hyrule. I love the design of Lorule. I love the gameplay. I think it is easily, in my personal opinion, the most gorgeous top-down Zelda game. And there's so many beautiful dungeons to talk about. There's so much awesome, riveting story to talk about. I love Yuga as a villain. I love the dynamic between Link and all of the NPCs in the world. I love Princess Zelda. It's just a beautiful game. And the ability to literally phase into the wall and become a painting because of this ability that you have been you were originally just cursed into it. It just made for so much fun puzzles. So many fun puzzles. Sorry, the alcohol's kind of working on me. So many fun puzzles and just so many awesome scenarios. And I've had many great experiences playing this game. It's fun to explore. It's fun to play multiple times. And I thought that if any group of people could beat the hell out of a discussion with this game, it's us. And so I figured, we've all played it. We've all enjoyed it. Why not?
Hell yeah.
Fair enough. I
Sounds
like
good
it.
To me, yeah.
So
I know some of these words.
Yeah, this is the sequel / somewhat of a remake, but not really, of A Link to the Past. It takes place in the same world, uses a lot of the same items and concepts, but it is a brand new Zelda adventure on the 3DS. This came out in late 2013, And
Oh yeah.
yeah, and I think it's one of the best titles on the 3DS, hands down. And I mean, maybe I'm a little bit biased because Zelda's my favorite video game series, but I remember getting this game as soon as it came out, just immediately blowing through it, doing everything there is to do in this game. And as I've mentioned several times whenever we bring this up, I have a very vivid memory of staying up very late on, I want to say, a school night, but then again, I was a senior at that point, and I was homeschooled, so maybe I had work or something the next morning, but I was staying up well past the point I was supposed to, playing this stupid fucking baseball minigame, trying to get the last piece of heart in the game.
It's so hard to sit there and just try to figure out exactly when to hit the button, because it doesn't feel like you can be consistent. Honestly, it's a guessing game. And it's fun to hit the ravens, though. Or crows, whatever they are.
I'll tell you what, I got that piece of heart most recently, because I've almost beat this game 100%. I got all the heart pieces. I just have the Treacherous Tower to finish, and then Low Roll Castle. But it was a lot more. It was a lot easier this time around. But still, like you said, it's a bit of a guessing game. So yeah, fuck that minigame, and fuck the Cucko minigame too. That is the one thing that I will probably not do and consider myself to 100% complete this game. Because fuck doing that for 9. If you want to keep the
tiny little bit of sanity that you have, don't ever do it again. Don't.
Yeah. Some of those mini games can definitely drive you to the point of insanity with this game. But it came out, 2013, which is weird to think that was 9 years ago. Just about, this game came out, and it. I remember covering the release of this game. I had just graduated college, and I was doing some freelance volunteer writing for a couple video game sites at the time. So this game for me was at a very pivotal point in my career as a games writer and journalist. Of this was the first time that I was following a release and writing about it and trying to learn about it. And for whatever reason, that didn't interest me in playing it. I grew up with 3D Zeldas, so the top-down, I wasn't interested. And then that year for Christmas, my girlfriend ended up getting it for me, and she was like, I think you love Zelda. I think you would really like this game. And I picked it up, and I did. And so I played it, and I was working as an EMT at the time, so I was just on the ambulance playing this game, and then we get a call, and I would go and take someone to the hospital, and then I'd play some more, and it was great. I played through the whole game. It was a really good time.
Doing chest compressions. Hold on, buddy. I gotta get the heart piece. Hold on.
Yep, exactly. All right, we got this. This is fine. Just let me get one of the music that is, the right beat for CPR. We're good to go. But fond memories. And I was working a lot of overnights back then too. So this game was perfect. If I couldn't sleep, I would just be in the base in my sleeping bag and playing Zelda. So it was cool. And this, for me, this game was similar to some of those original Zelda titles, right? But based on my experience, where I'd played a lot of the console ones from the N64 on, breaking the mold with going to any dungeon in any order you wanted to go. You could get basically any item early on in the game if you wanted. You could prioritize. So it shifted things in that way and made it it was almost like an Animal Crossing game in a way. It's just do what you want to do. Go explore what you want to go see. That was really cool.
New analogy: Link Between Worlds is the Animal Crossing of Zelda.
Yeah.
Well, it's really interesting because for being a game that obviously used the same world as A Link to the Past and occupied that same space of the timeline, they actually wanted to break a lot of molds and really kind of break conventions in Zelda. And bear in mind, this was right after Skyward Sword, which is largely considered one of the most linear Zelda games. And they decided to kind of make this open-ended format that arguably laid the groundwork for Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, I would say so, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, a short tangent that, Skyward Sword, that game got a lot of criticism, and I feel like we needed that game for Breath of the Wild to come out and do the thing it did. And this was a nice stopgap kind of between them, right? And, yeah, it was like a 2D version of being able, or a 2D, 3D, whatever you want to call it. It was on the 3DS, to get the development team thinking in the way that they needed to be able to bring Breath of the Wild to life.
Right.
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so being able to complete most of the dungeons in any order was kind of a big deal. Back in the very first Zelda game, there were some dungeons that you could do out of order, but there were still, you still had to mostly complete it within a certain way. In A Link Between Worlds, you got to go to the Eastern Palace, but then you can do the Tower of Hera, or the, what was it called, the Palace of Winds or something.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do either one of those first, and then the other. And then once you get to low roll, any of the low roll dungeons can be done in any order, except you do have to do Thieves' Hideout before you do the Desert Palace. That being the only exception. But other than that, I mean, you can go about these in any way. And I really got to experiment with that with my current playthrough. I mean, the first time I played the game, I didn't really know what was going on. This was back in 2013, so I was just kind of moving along and trying to go along what I felt was the best path, or what I thought was most logical at the time. But even then, I was kind of discovering these. This time, I decided to go after my first dungeon, my favorite dungeon first, which was the Thieves' Hideout.
This game scared the hell out of me, dude.
Really?
Yes, because I'm so used to Ocarina of Time, and like when I had played this, like I was still playing the GameCube a lot, and I have like 3,000 fucking playthroughs of Twilight Princess. We all know that's my favorite. So like they're like, I remember my friends telling me about it in school, and they're like, "Yeah, you can do any dungeon," and I'm like, "The fuck? You don't have to like go here, then time travel, then go here," and they're like, "No, you just do whatever the fuck you want." I'm like, "Huh? What? I'm sorry, what?"
A non-linear Zelda game is a breath of fresh air. And I think the way that they did it with A Link Between Worlds is a fantastic... I mean, of course, yeah, there's some things that you have to do, like the Thieves' Hideout before the Desert Palace, but given the fact that you can kind of choose your own path, I really like that. And I think Breath of the Wild... everybody knows that was a completely brand new take on the Zelda series, but that opens up the series to so many possibilities. And so I think A Link Between Worlds hinted at that just right, in the best way possible. And that's why I look at it as the nicest 2D top-down Zelda game, even though it's technically 3D, because it's, on the 3DS. But
it's 2.5D is what you would normally call this.
Yeah.
And then that's the actual term, is that it's 3D models from a 2D perspective, like Metroid Dread or New Super Mario Brothers. But what's interesting about A Link Between the Worlds is even 2.5D doesn't quite cover it, because with the wall merge mechanic, which I believe was one of the first aspects that was developed, before this game was even conceived as a sequel to A Link to the Past, the wall merging mechanic was pitched. That basically turns the world into 3D. And it's kind of similar to what Super Paper Mario did, if any of you have played that game. But by being able to shift into another dimension, it opens up a lot of puzzle opportunities. And I really think that that's what sets this game apart, is that, they could have just retreaded A Link to the Past, but they didn't. They decided to try out some really cool ideas. And having so many puzzles being implemented around this gimmick was actually a lot of fun. I like being able to explore the world in different ways, and actually getting to see that, what we thought was a top-down perspective is actually kind of... everything's kind of slanted in world, which was odd. But, when you look at it from this angle, you're like, well, yeah, that's how it would look like, right?
It definitely
reminded me a lot of being like upside down in Twilight Princess.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's how. Anyways, Dan, sorry.
No, it's just shifting the perspective was cool. I mean, up until like Megan, you had mentioned Twilight Princess. Like, there are different games that will kind of play with the perspective, and it makes me want to see if they were to bring this mechanic into a full-on like 3D Zelda game, what would that be like? And it's just cool. Like, this game stands out. And it's the one Zelda game. I mean, it's, of course, successor to like Link to the Past. A lot of people, kind of compare the two. But I find that this game is kind of the one that will stand on its own the most as being like a unique Zelda title compared to the others, just because there's so much you can do. Ash, you were talking about like mini games earlier, probably stuff that I never got around to doing. Like I played the main story and then I kind of, cut out after that, but it is making me want to go revisit this game. And really just like, man, I love the 3DS. Like that was such a good console. And it's, really sad that I love the success of the Switch, but it definitely made it so that the 3DS kind of had to sunset and have its time. So that's that's where we're at with that.
God, that just made me sad as hell.
Yeah. And this is one of the games I think that best implemented the 3D features of the 3DS. I mean, I actually spent quite a bit of the time in my most recent playthrough in prep for this episode playing in 3D so that I, and really taking full advantage of that. And it's a lot of fun. I loved being able to, especially when you shift into the 3D space and seeing the flat Link. There's just kind of this juxtaposition that's really, really interesting. And the stereoscopic 3D really takes advantage of that in this game. I think it's not one of those games that actually turned the 3D mechanic into a gimmick, which not a lot of 3DS games did because they wanted people to be able to play this game in 2D, but I think it does enhance the experience a little bit. And if you have a new 3DS, like I have my new 3DS XL here, which most of the paint is worn off.
I was gonna say, what happened to that poor 3DS?
I actually survived 7 house fires.
It got played.
I bought it this way. So my original 3DS failed on me, and then I bought another 3DS XL, or my ex-girlfriend got one for me, and then I spilled soda on it. So I bought this off of eBay or something, and actually some of the paint was already coming off of it. But whatever, I got a 3DS that works right, and the paint came off. But what's really nice is that it has the face tracking 3D. So one of the only irritating things about playing in 3D was that, if you just move your face a little bit, you lose it and it looks all blurry. The new 3DS actually tracks your face a little bit. So the second it gets blurry, it'll kind of adjust, track your face, and then it's right as rain again.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know that.
I never had that feature. Damn.
It's really cool, and it was a big upgrade. I got the original 3DS at launch. I was a poor college student, but I was so excited. So I saved all of my work study money. And the day it came out, I woke up and I drove to a Target and I bought it. And it didn't release with any games, or maybe 2 or 3 games at launch. But it was Pokemon Black and White. I think had come out not too long before that. Not a 3DS game, regular DS, but I wanted to play that on my 3DS. But then I upgraded to the new 3DS XL, specifically when the Majora's Mask one came out, because I really wanted that. And I still have that. It's in a protected case. I've taken good care of this thing. And the 3DS XL, I mean, I was, again, being an EMT, I remember I was in the ambulance when the Nintendo Direct happened, and then pre-orders went up, and I was like, I gotta get this. And from my phone, I was able to pre-order the Majora's Mask one. But there's the technology is really cool, and honestly, having the bigger screen did these games. They did them justice. Now, A Link Between Worlds, I played on my smaller regular 3DS, so I really should give it a proper playthrough and enjoy it on the newer screen, because I imagine it would look so good on that system.
Yeah, playing with the 3D is difficult without that face tracking, because it's very, very easy to lose that full 3D effect. So most of the time, I just turned it off.
Yeah, just don't move your head at all, and you're fine.
Have you seen how big this thing is? That is impossible. I have one gravitational pull.
Ocarina 3D and Majora 3D had this gyroscope feature, which was actually really nice. I actually used it. I thought it was a lot better than aiming with the circle pad, but it was almost impossible to keep the 3D on and use the gyroscope mechanic. This game does not make use of that because it's a top-down Zelda game. So they actually they kind of just more focused on the button experience. But there are quite a few touchscreen controls in this game. I mean, I liked, for instance, the ability to quick swap items, or I think they call it quick select, was actually really nice. You don't unlock it until you get a little bit further into the game, but instead of having to pause the game and change out your items every time, they took some cues from, like, Skyward Sword and implemented the ability to just sort of swap your items on the fly, which, you know, it's not going to be helpful if you're in the middle of combat and you're trying to avoid getting hit, but if you've got a quick moment to just... And you can even kind of configure your item menu. You can change the placements of the items in your inventory and even select which ones are going to be available in your quick select menu. So that actually opens up a lot. And that's not even getting into the whole item rental system. So what really another feature that set this game apart and complemented the open-ended nature of the game and the fact that you could tackle the dungeons in almost any order is the fact that you could rent items from Ravio. And whenever who makes shop at Link's house on the overworld, and whenever you rent an item, you have that item, you can use it, and then when you die, you lose it, and you have to go back and you have to rent it again. Now later on in the game, of course, you can permanently buy the item, and then you can fully upgrade it, and that's going to be worth in the long run. But early game, you know, there's kind of this balance and trying to figure out what items you want to take with you. And while each dungeon is centered around a particular item, there are going to be some that are just going to be useful to have on you. I like the fire rod. I think the first time I played this game, I slept on the fire rod. The fire rod, and especially the upgraded fire rod, is a powerhouse.
Dude, I swear every item that I use, you sleep on. Swear. Like, if we talked about this in Horizon, I was talking about how I used something, and Ash was like, oh, no, I never really used it. I was like, bro, that was my most used fucking item. Like, how, what? Like, the fire rod was my favorite item. I don't understand, sir.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just didn't really play around with it a whole lot. But when I got in this playthrough and I used it for the first time, renting it, I was kind of like, whatever. But then when I upgraded it, it pretty much replaces the bow almost in most areas.
It's OP. Yeah,
it's nice because it can even go up and down stairs, and it just keeps going, and it continually damages. So it's really nice, especially in a boss fight when you stun the boss. Instead of going at him with your sword, hit the fire rod and then go at him with your sword.
Yes, that's what I do. Yes.
I tend to really like elemental weapons in games in general, so the fire rod and ice rod in this game were great. Of course, I always tend to default to bows in any game that you offer a bow. I pick it up and use it. But the rental system was cool, being able to both, for relatively inexpensively for rupees, excuse me, play around with these items, check out different items, or just make a whole bunch and then rent everything in the store at once, and then you have them all. And a lot of the dungeons, the main thing that limited you from getting to a dungeon was having the item you needed to enter it. So that mechanic allowed you to just switch out different items that you need and tackle the dungeons in any order. So it was really cool.
Yeah, I'm definitely the piece of shit that rupee farmed until I could just buy every single item.
Yep.
100%, yeah.
It's okay.
We're both pieces of shit.
Glad we're in agreement there.
Wow.
Well, and this game is pretty liberal with the rupees. The most common treasure that you're gonna come across in a treasure chest, or whenever you go to one of those like treasure rooms across the overworld, you're gonna get rupees. And so this game actually kind of pushes you towards that. And there is no wallet limit, no wallet upgrades. From the very beginning of the game to the end of it, you can hold 9,999 rupees, and you're going to want to stock those up, because in addition to the rental items, there are a few side quests that revolve around that, like the rupee fairy, and then that stupid bastard that charges you 888 rupees for a fucking bee. Fuck that guy.
I hate him. Fuck that dude.
Don't worry, I saved beforehand, and then I reloaded, and I forgot about that. I played when my most recent playthrough and prep for this episode, I fell for it, but it's okay because I reloaded. I was like, no, I am not giving you 800 rupees. Fuck you.
I am ashamed of you, sir.
Hey man, you could just go balls to the wall and go my hunting with all of the items in your inventory. Also, that's another thing I like about the game. You can kind of hear the little squeaks looking for the my. I know we can... never mind. I'm just going in circles in my head. But yeah, that's like one of my favorite parts of the game is the my hunting. And normally I hate searching for stuff like that in games, but for some reason it was just very cute to hear the squeak and then go nuts trying to find it.
Yes.
Oh,
They're
yeah,
so
no,
cute.
the My side quest is actually kind of fun, and it doesn't take that long, and actually you're kind of motivated to do it because it's how you upgrade your items. So once you've permanently bought an item and you collect 10 My, you can upgrade an item for 10 My each, and it's totally worth it because the upgraded items are just powerhouses.
The amount of time I spent fucking my hunting, bruh. I could have like done some pre-AP shit and got a better college degree with that amount of time. Dead ass.
I think your time was well spent, and now you're here, now you're talking about it, so very
That's
well
true.
spent.
Exactly.
You would have told me this 4 years ago, I'd have been like, huh? I'm on a what? Doing what? I'm sorry, what?
So what were you guys' or if you can remember from the last time you played or the first time you played, what were you guys' dungeon orders, and what were your favorite dungeons in this game?
Oh shit, I'd have to go back and like remember all the names of the dungeons. Hold up. I got an answer for you. Hang on.
Yeah.
Between worlds.
I had pulled this up a second ago, but I don't have it in front of me anymore. I remember, and you guys probably know, having played it more recently. Is there like the Dark Palace is one, I believe, or Palace of Darkness or whatever it is. That was one of the last dungeons that I did, and I remember I saved that toward the end of the game. And I remember that because I was telling my coworker about it. That was like one of the first dungeons that he went and played through. So we were like comparing notes on, what dungeon order we were doing. So I remember that was toward the end of the game for me.
I think I did the same thing.
There's 12 dungeons too. That's what's ridiculous. And that's great. Like, I fucking love that. So give me a second. I'm pulling up a list here.
The Dark Palace was cool because there's this whole like stealth section beforehand too. And I always love when Zelda has like a stealth section, like one part of the game where you can't just fight enemies, and it kind of challenges you to use your wits and maneuver around. And in this case, use that wall merge mechanic.
I really liked how, this is kind of indicative of any 2D Zelda game, but unique locations that each dungeon was located in, and how getting into the dungeon kind of became like a puzzle in and of itself, of how to access the part of the map that it was on and how to get inside, and then doing the actual dungeon itself. So that added, I think that like really padded the gameplay time for this game, of just like exploring the overworld and figuring out how one region connects to another.
Yeah, especially with the interconnectedness between Hyrule and Lowrule, which obviously works very similarly to the way that the Light World and the Dark World worked in A Link to the Past. But I want to say that it's a little bit tighter in this game. And I like how they threw you a few curveballs. Like, some of the dungeons were located in different areas. Like, Turtle Rock is in the lake, and the Ice Ruins is at Death Mountain. Because go figure.
Mm-hmm.
So even
I think I did it pretty basic bitch now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure I just did like Eastern Palace, Gales, Hera, Castle, Hideout, Desert Palace, Dark Palace, Swamp Palace. So I did those 3 in order. And then I did Skullwoods, Turtle Rock, Ruins, and the Castle. I was pretty basic about it. It's fine. Everything's fine. I followed a walkthrough because I was like, I just was so lost because I did not realize that you could just go wherever the fuck you wanted, and I was just like so busy hunting my mines that I was just like, you know what, it's fine, like everything's fine. And I was like, which way do I go? Fuck, I don't know. There's no indication of where I need to go, so I just followed the walkthrough, if I remember correctly.
I went through a pretty basic dungeon order my first playthrough, which, by the way, my save file somehow made it onto my new 3DS, so it's there. The folks over at Nintendo Support were especially helpful at transferring data. Yeah, no, it's actually fantastic. But so I actually have my original save file, but I played this time on Hero Mode, which was new. And I'll talk about that in a minute, because Hero Mode is actually treated pretty interestingly in this game. But my dungeon order this time was I went straight after the Thieves' Hideout, because I remember that was one of my favorite dungeons. In fact, I think it was on my top 5 list or top 10 list whenever I did that on the bonus round.
Yeah.
But the Thieves' Hideout is a lot of fun. I love the whole mechanic where you're taking the thief girl around and you gotta solve puzzles together. I love the boss. It's just a really interesting dungeon. So I went after that first, and then you get the Sand Rod as a result of completing that dungeon. So naturally, I went to the Desert Palace next. I then went to the Swamp Palace. And then the Skullwoods, and then I went back to the 3 palaces that represent, I guess, Hyrulean palaces, which would be the...
So you did it big brain, and I'm over here being a dumbass. 10-4, my guy.
Just this most recent playthrough, because I'd played through it once already. But my first time was pretty basic.
I mean, I had no idea what I was doing my first time, so I couldn't even tell you if it was basic or backwards or whatever. But I do know, so like Breath of the Wild opens up in a way that once you're off the Great Plateau, you can go anywhere, right? But the game kind of guides you and pushes you in a direction of like, oh, well, Kakariko Village is in this direction. Why don't you go there and talk to Impa? And you know, they're always kind of guiding you to the next location. And for that game, I was like, well, I don't want to do things like out of order. Like, I want to follow the story in the way that Nintendo wants me to play. So, like, you could go right to Hyrule Castle if you want to. I avoided that part of the game for so long because I was like, nope, not supposed to go there yet. I don't want to see what's there until I'm good and ready in the story. I did not feel that same kind of pressure or guidance from A Link Between Worlds. It felt much more like, oh, it's open and here are these dungeons I need to go. Okay, go do them in whichever order you like. Maybe the game tries to guide you a little bit, but I felt it was much more open to really just do things, at your own pace and the way you want to do them.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you could go through the A Link to the Past order, but even that's not going to be, quick, surefire, because the locations of the dungeons are different. So it's like, oh, well, you want to go for Turtle Rock? Surprise, bitch. This is the Ice Ruins.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Thank you for quoting Dexter. I love you for that.
More fries, motherfucker.
Maybe for, this game, the 10-year anniversary is going to be next year. Maybe I should actually visit A Link to the Past, which is a Zelda game I've never beaten. I've never finished. So,
it's so good, brother.
That would be a good opportunity, I think, to play.
It's one of the only Zelda games I have not beaten. I've gotten as far as the Swamp Palace, but that's as far as I've gotten in A Link to the Past.
Sounds like we should play that together, and then we can do an episode about it.
I'm down. I mean, that's a Zelda game that I kind of feel like there's a gap in my Zelda game knowledge, because I've beat the original. Fuck Zelda 2. That's way too fucking hard. I've never gotten very far in it.
Someday I'm gonna save state my way through that game when I have the motivation.
Exactly.
I will tell you, Dan, it is painful and it's a very long game, but it's really well done.
That's good to know.
The music's good too.
I have I made a 40 by 40 list of just things I want to do. I'm 31 now, so I got a little bit of time. But one of them is beat most major Zelda home console games. I didn't put every Zelda home console game because I know that would drive me crazy, but I do want to beat the majority of them. So like the original Zelda, A Link to the Past, those are definitely on my list for completing, at some point this decade when I have the time for it, when there aren't like 18 brand new AAA titles coming out in a year for me to play.
It's fine. It's casual.
Yeah, exactly.
I still haven't even finished a couple of games because I'm just so scared to finish them and not have that first playthrough for the first time. So I have a lot of catching up to do. Yeah, I get stuck in like the thought of the first experience that I don't play it, and I'm like, I should probably do that.
So yeah, what were some of you guys' favorite dungeons? I mean, Dan, I think you mentioned quite a few of them when we did our Zelda Dungeons episode.
I think I did, and I wish I had like referred to that episode because now I don't remember. But I know, so the Thieves' Hideout I remember was a cool dungeon to go through, and I think that did a good job of kind of like showcasing the elements of the game, and having some of like the puzzles that were involved were just like a good way to go about figuring out what is this palace all about, or I'm playing Persona 5. What is this dungeon all about? And what are we, how do you defeat the boss and all this stuff? So that is, I think, one that definitely sticks out to me. But I'm curious to see, what dungeons you guys have, what stands out in your memories of what you remember when playing through.
Thieves' Hideout, for sure. That was my favorite. I think that Ash and I were talking about that actually on the review of the dungeons, because I was comparing that to the Forest Temple with the monkey, and I was like, they're harmonious of each other. So that one sticks out to me as like the most evident, because like any game where I can have a companion, whether it be Lydia sitting there saying that she's sworn to carry my burdens with the sassy ass face and getting in my way, or like just running around with somebody, I love it.
Turtle Rock, baby.
Interesting.
Turtle Rock is my favorite in A Link to the Past, A Link Between Worlds, and Link's Awakening.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
It's one of the more punishing dungeons, I would say, in this game.
That's why I love it.
Yeah.
Because it's hard as fuck. And I love a challenge, man. Sometimes I feel like the earlier Zelda games were a little bit easier. Most of the time, there is some really hard stuff, especially going back and playing it on Hero Mode. Like Skyward Sword on Hero Mode is unforgiving. That game is difficult. But I love Turtle Rock because it's a challenge.
Turtle Rock is challenging. I also had I think Ice Ruins was a pretty tough one too, and I actually saved those two for last of this playthrough. But I would say Thieves' Hideout and the Skullwoods. And what's interesting is those are both dungeons that don't center around items. So they're like dungeons that had puzzles just centered around their own mechanics, and they actually achieved that really well. The Skullwoods kind of has the wall masters coming after you the whole time, and I hate wall masters, but I love some of the ways that you implement that they worked puzzles around that, like having the hand come down and hit a switch, and the fact that half of the dungeon, takes place across different parts of the Skullwoods. So it's not really even clear what part is the dungeon and what part's the overworld, right?
Yep.
That's true. Yeah, I could see that.
I feel like looking at even just screenshots of this game, the art style is so cool. These dungeons are so well realized. I had mentioned earlier I really love elemental items, so going into the ice ruins and being able to melt the ice with the fire rod,
so fun.
It makes me want two things. One, bring this game to Switch. It deserves to be on the Switch and more people to check it out. And two, let's do a Switch 3D. I am maybe in the minority where I love the 3D effect of the 3DS. If they were to do that on a larger scale with a console the size of the Switch, I would have no complaints. That would be so cool.
Oh.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Right?
I agree that this game needs to come to Switch. I was actually just thinking about that while playing this. Like, I would love to see a port of this game to Switch. And then the additional buttons on the Switch would allow to compensate for not having to rely on touch controls, but keep the touch controls in there anyway because the Switch has a touchscreen. So that way players can kind of go either or with it. But yeah, no, this game would feel great on the Switch. I would love to see it get remastered. And you know, I feel like it's kind of an underrated title in the series. I mean, this was sort of to kind of bridge the gap between Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild, which it accomplished along with its, well, we just won't speak of it. Triforce Heroes.
I ain't saying nothing if you don't.
Oh, we spoke of it. Here we go.
Oh, we lost the game. Damn it.
Apparently, the link in Triforce Heroes is the same one from Link Between Worlds. Inexplicably, despite the fact that he's drawn in Toon Link style, because I think that was Aonuma who decided to do that.
Why? I'll never know.
Yeah. I don't know. I liked Four Swords better than Triforce Heroes, personally.
Triforce Heroes was just, I was like, porque why? Pero why?
Well, it's like I play Zelda because I'm lonely and I'm too awkward to play video games with friends, okay? Don't make a Zelda game that centers around a multiplayer mechanic. Come on.
That's Nintendo for you.
I'm an introvert,
Honestly.
damn it.
I like so you had mentioned Aonuma, Ash, and I like it's worth remembering that this game was released and developed during the time when Iwata was president of Nintendo, and I like remembering that because we lost him in 2015, and his legacy, I mean, Nintendo continued to release games for years after that where he was still listed in the credits of having a hand in the development of that game. And Nintendo has, you know, they struggled with the Wii U. I love the Wii U. I think probably many of us on this call do. But
Yeah.
we you know, Iwata really saw, I think, Nintendo struggle for a while, and A Link Between Worlds and the 3DS in general. I mean, the DS, if you count the DS and 3DS, it sold over 100 million units. It's one of the best-selling units of all consoles of all time, and it's it just makes me feel just really glad that when Nintendo is in their like best form and firing on all cylinders, we get really cool, really creative stuff. And I feel like in a sense we have that now with the Switch, but there was a lull for a few years, and this kind of just preceded that a bit and made it, you know, a time when Nintendo was doing some really cool creative stuff, and we got a Link Between Worlds out of it.
Hell yeah!
Yeah,
man.
I'm hoping that Nintendo does some cool shit. Because, like, I mean, for me, I felt quite a bit of a lull because Alan got me the Switch when he started the degree that he just finished. And he got me Breath of the Wild. I remember that. And it came with Mario Kart 8, which is very, very fun if anybody loves Mario Kart. And then Animal Crossing, because everybody played Animal Crossing during the pandemic, but Alan just never got the chance to get me a Switch because, like, you know, they were sold out. It was like PlayStations right now. You just can't find them. So I'm hoping for a little bit more of a resurgence because, like you were saying, with the 3DS getting its sunset, I don't want that to happen to the Switch because I love my Switch, and my stepdaughter just got one, so I'm wanting to find more games to play with her, and I want a really cool creative game to come forward, and I'm hoping that Tears of the Kingdom is just going to knock our freaking socks off because I can't handle the Switch having its sunset and taking it out back like an old dog.
I don't think we don't have to worry about that for a long, long time. And Zach, you can go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't think we have to worry about Tears of the Kingdom being bad or good. I think it's going to be a masterpiece. I think they're going to take the best parts of Breath of the Wild, make them even better, and they're going to take the shit from Breath of the Wild. Story. Sorry. Had to get that out.
God.
But they're going to take the bad things and just make them absolutely incredible.
Oh, yeah.
What I find most interesting, so it has been over 6 years, or will be coming up on 6 years since the release of Breath of the Wild. That is the longest we have ever gone between Zelda releases since it came out, and it's using the same engine and same assets as Breath of the Wild. Right? So what have they been doing for 6 years? That's what I want to know. What have they done and created to justify this long gap on a game that, for all intents and purposes, like, was there, the framework was there, I don't know what it's gonna be, and I'm really excited to find out.
Dan's gonna walk up to one of these guys' houses all kitted up, like, FBI, open up! Why the fuck did this game take so long?
Where the hell are you?
I think the answer is probably the same as what Retro Studios has been doing with Metroid Prime 4.
Facts. Oh my fucking god. I don't even want to talk about it. It
Also
hurts
a
my
mystery.
brain.
They just like a month ago, Retro put out a job title for someone to work on Metroid Prime 4. I'm like, how are you still hiring for this game? What are you doing?
It's like Anthem all over again. They're still hiring staff even though the game was shut down.
Yeah.
Like, why? Why are you hurting us like this?
Yeah. No, I think it'll be phenomenal. And I'm excited about Tears of the Kingdom. One more thing I think that we should really, that I wanted to bring up on this episode while we're talking about the gameplay. And in part 2, we're going to kind of get more into the story, the characters, the soundtrack. Deliberately haven't brought that up yet, but hero mode. So one complaint about this game, maybe one of the only complaints, is that it is a little bit easy. And the dungeons are very fast, but they're kind of short and sweet, and that's what's nice about them. But if you felt that the game was a little bit too easy, that combat wasn't difficult enough, that the game wasn't long enough, try out hero mode, because hero mode is treated a little bit differently in A Link Between Worlds than it is in other Zelda games. So in most Zelda games, enemies deal double damage, and there are no hearts. They don't spawn hearts. In A Link Between Worlds, enemies deal 4 times as much damage, but you do still spawn hearts, which you'll need because, wow. In the early game, this game is overwhelmingly difficult in hero mode. Like, for the first 3 or 4 dungeons, you are going to have a hell of a time before you start getting some heart containers, because most of the enemies can kill you in a couple hits. And some of the enemies, in fact, I remember I went straight for the Thieves' Hideout. There's one room where there's a bunch of those big armor guys with the eyes that in this dark room that come after you at once, and they will kill you in one hit. If you, it happened to me several times. It was very frustrating. So
why do I feel like I would pull a Jedi Fallen Order and not realize how, like, finding heart pieces in hero mode, and I would just go through with like 2 pieces of heart? I just have a gut feeling I would do that. Yeah, the entire time I played Jedi Fallen Order, I went through with 3 fucking stims, and Ash goes, there's like 8, right?
There's 10. There are 10, and they are hard. 2 of them are really fucking hard to find. But, I mean, you feel OP as fuck.
Yeah, no, I went through the whole goddamn game with 3 stims, so I can only imagine me playing in hero mode, just having like 2 pieces of heart. Like, how the fuck do I do this?
Hell no.
I think when I had played through Skyward Sword on Switch, I had played through on hero mode, and that was definitely challenging. Funnily enough, because Skyward Sword is a game that I think gets the most criticism by fans and people who've played. A lot of people don't like the motion controls. I loved that game in 2011 when it released, and I beat it, and like I've been apologizing for that game forever. I played it on Switch, and I just don't feel it has aged well, and I was markedly like more annoyed with that game playing it through a second time than I ever was the first, to the point where I stopped motion controls altogether. I just used the Joy-Cons to use those, and but even that, like, there was a point in the game where I felt the game should have been over, and then it continued for 10 more hours, and it just kind of overstayed its welcome, in my opinion.
Zach's about to throw hands.
No, it's fine. It's fine. My blood pressure is back down to normal, which is good.
Take another shot. It's fine.
I'm gonna keep it. No, it's fine.
I mean, the thing with Zelda games, right? Even the ones that you criticize the most, like, they're still good fucking games, right? So
unless it's Zelda 2.
It's like, unless Zelda 2. We can, that like exists on its own almost. It's like, most Zelda games, and then you have Zelda 2, and then way off in the corner there's the CDI Zelda games. So it's there are different tiers that you can put them to.
We actually covered the Zelda CDI games. So our first Zelda game on this podcast, when it was just me and my brother Dakota, was Breath of the Wild. Ooh. And then we did the Zelda CDI games, or we did we did Wand of Gamelon and Faces of Evil. So it's kind of a fun note to open up with, the second Zelda game we did on this podcast. Yes, we did play them. I don't recommend it. They're not fun.
10 out of 10, do not recommend.
You're better off watching a playthrough or just the cutscenes, or watching our Let's Play on it.
You're better off just using a different console at that point, okay? Just don't even fucking purchase it.
The cutscenes are so bad they're good, but the gameplay I cannot say the same for. It's just bad.
To me, the CDIs are like the CGI of The Rock and fucking Scorpion King, okay? Like, that is to me what those fucking games.
Oh, it's time for me to go to bed.
You just piqued my interest, so I looked on eBay. First of all, the CDI like console itself, that's hard enough to find. The games themselves, I can only find like Dutch language versions, and they're going for minimum $200 on eBay. Like, I kind of want to buy one, but
just to have it.
Don't do it. Don't you dare,
right
Dan
now.
Rockwood.
Just to have it, just put it on my shelf. I can, arrange my room so when I podcast like this, it can be on display behind me. Like, hey, want to look at this? It's a CDI Zelda game.
Oh,
Please
shit.
don't.
Well,
For the love of God. I may be Nordic, but goddamn it, don't.
I'm already hyped for part 2 of this shit, guys.
Yeah. I guess we're kind of heading up to that parting point of part 1. We're a little over an hour now, so and we'll get into more of the gameplay, or actually mostly. Let me just redo that. We'll get into the story, the characters, the soundtrack, and anything else that we didn't cover in this episode in part 2. So stick around. Before we finish this episode off, Daniel-san, go ahead and talk about Victims and Villains and where we can find you.
Absolutely. Well, you can take a listen to Victims and Villains anywhere you can find your podcasts at Victims and Villains. I myself am over on Twitter for the time being. I'm over at a DRock64, so you can find me there, or check out any of the stuff I do for TechRaptor.net. I do a lot of gaming previews and reviews and news and features. I'm currently working on some stuff for some of the latest releases, like Marvel's Midnight Suns, which I've been having fun with.
That looks so fun.
I've been enjoying it, and as a card battle type game, I'm not super into those, but this is well done. The story is well done, and it's just a lot of fun. If you like Marvel and those characters, definitely worth checking out. But I'm gonna be updating or publishing something about that shortly, so stay tuned for that. And that's all I got for you.
Yeah, and I love your work on Tech Raptor. I think the other day we posted I posted a meme about train sequences in video games, and you had an article about that.
That I was so stupidly proud of getting that approved, because I went to my editor and I'm like, hey, can I write an article about trains? He's like, I think that is just dumb enough and niche enough that people would click on it, so yeah, go for it.
I like trains.
Only something Dan would. I like trains.
Fallen Order was one of the games that you mentioned in that article.
I did. There is a train in that game, and it's very good.
Yeah, and Uncharted 2, that goes without saying.
Yep, I mentioned Shadows of the Empire, which the controls of that game on N64 are not great, but I enjoyed that train level. There were there's some good trains in games, and more trains to come. So keep an eye out. If you want to read about trains, you can look up the top 10 trains in games, I think it's called, on TechRaptor.net.
Oh my god!
Boy, do I have the Zelda game for you.
Weirdly enough, the one that I have only played very, very minimal of, so I should give that a full playthrough.
Alrighty, guys. Well, if you enjoyed this episode, stay tuned for part 2. We're going to get into more A Link Between the Worlds content. And for our holiday special, we are finishing up God of War Ragnarok. We are going to get into full spoiler territory. Zach, hopefully, you might be able to join us
Zach,
for
you better
that
get
one.
that shit on there, boy. I'm not even joking.
I mean, to be honest, I don't know if I'll finish the game by then, but I hope to. I don't want to rush through it, though. That's the thing. I am loving this game, so...
Zach,
so
just listen to me and listen
Watch
to
your
me
mouth.
carefully.
Watch your mouth.
No, you watch your mouth and finish this goddamn game.
All right, guys.
And so stay tuned for the rest of our December content. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We also have a Facebook group called Collateral Media Podcasts, kind of our shitposting / news group where you can interact and be a part of the fun. And you can listen to Collateral Gaming wherever you get your podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Google Podcasts, you name it. And if we're not somewhere, let us know. If you are a fellow podcaster, a gamer, streamer, if you want to be on the show, hit us up. If you have any suggestions, any games that you'd like us to explore, especially on the bonus round, we're always open to suggestions. We also have a Patreon. So if you want to listen to some of our exclusive Let's Play video game commentaries, you can check out our Patreon as well.
Yeah, we need to get more content for that.
I need to get a new capture card before I get to...
I need to get a capture card. I should probably do that.
I need to finish Ragnarok.
Yes, you do. Absolutely.
I just need to play more games.
Yeah.
Honestly, just real quick, this is an aside. I've been spending the majority of the last year playing through Persona 5 Royal in real time with the game. Yeah. So I'm getting toward the end because it ends in December, which is crazy, but then Royal has extra content through the first few months of the year. But that's been wild. I'm like 137 hours in, but it doesn't feel like it because I've just been playing 20 minutes a day every day since April 9th. So that's what my life has been like this year.
You mentioned that actually on our on the Resident Evil 2 episode. I remember that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That is actually really interesting. I haven't gotten into the Persona series, but I'd like to. It's one of those. It's on my list.
It's really great. Literally, the whole theme of the game is like take your time. So like, don't feel like you got to rush through that game. Take your time. It's a lot of fun.
Okay.
Alrighty, folks. Well, that being said, we will see you in part 2. I've been Ashley Chancellor.
I've been Megan Gomez.
I will always be Zachary Gio.
And I am, for the time being, Dan Rockwood.
And this has been Collateral Gaming with Victims and Villains. We will see you in part 2.
Bye, Scouts.
And happy holidays, folks. Collateral Gaming is a Collateral Media podcast. All music and game clips are owned by their respective creators and are used for educational purposes only. Please don't sue us. We're poor.